Welcome to VanTUG November General Meeting, Azure Machine Learning and Azure Websites. Please don't have me slaughter your name and put
Yaroslav. Hi everyone, Yaroslav Pentarskyy is my name. Welcome. So as the title says, today we're going to talk about Azure. So I had a bit of trouble with naming the session, because I wanted to, I know the topic that we had, Microsoft to talk about Azure websites and machine learning, and then I'm like, well, I gotta talk about something more interesting. So we will cover Azure websites and machine learning and other actually interesting stuff. And then I thought, well, it's not really a proper title, so I changed the title and other Azure interesting stuff. And the other Azure interesting stuff that I would like to cover is something that you guys probably, a lot of you are developers mostly, infrastructure. Who's developers? Okay. Who's infrastructure? Who's supporting developers? Some of you, right? Okay, so that'll be interesting. Keep them in line, exactly, right? So there's a lot of what I think is a lot of interest, and a lot of people are missing out is Azure source control. Very easy to set up. So PFS Online, also known as PFS Online, and also Azure Virtual Machines. So those are additional things I want to cover, which I think are also very important to cover in terms of Azure. I think Microsoft. So there's a big sort of competition happening between all of the cloud providers, Microsoft, Amazon, and they're competing, and there's this scary competition of the goal is to obviously make the service as cheap as possible, right? I read a comparison the other day that someone was saying that storage, 1 gigabyte of storage, like 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, cost $1,000 or $2,000. I got my numbers messed up, so that's so there goes my thunder. But now it's something like a couple of cents, right? So it's much cheaper and much more affordable. So we'll talk all about that. So just a little bit about myself. So I'm actually a SharePoint guy. So I wrote a couple of books here on SharePoint. I brought to give them away to you guys. If you have someone who's interested in SharePoint, I can sign them for you. I'll put it there for the camera. You guys are not getting any. But there's plenty of copies of Amazon. So that's good. So I have my blog, and I write, and I'm in SharePoint and people about 6 years now. So, time flies. So I wrote a couple of 4 books. This being the last one. So agenda, we've kind of covered a little bit, right? Azure VMs, Azure websites, Azure machine learning, and other interesting stuff. So I'll start with VMs. And so the goal basically of this session is not so much to give you like, okay, here's a prescribed step by step how to set this thing up. Kind of see what's possible. That way you can be like, okay, I think I can work with that. Let me see if I can get something set up. So keep going. I think there's a trial going on in Azure as well, which you can take advantage of. There's always a trial, right? So, but and it's true. A couple of years ago, someone was, I was at some sessions and someone was saying, hey, there's a trial, Azure, et cetera, and there's always a trial, right? So I signed up and I kind of didn't know what to use it for, and like on click through and just trial expired and stuff. But then I realized that MVPs have free Azure subscription. There's like a limit, but there's an Azure subscription. So I'm wondering, let me see if I can use this for it. And actually, I found some good use cases. So Azure Beyond the Headline. So real story. This I think back in 2007, I was doing actually VanTUG presentation. 2008, I can't remember exactly when it was. And I had this. So obviously, I told you guys I'm a SharePoint guy, right? So I had this presentation, and I was okay. I need to set up, not just specifically for the presentation, but I need to stand up a SharePoint environment. The only way to stand it up was to either use your work SharePoint environment or to have your own sandbox. So this wasn't my project, but it's very similar. It was a computer running on carpet in my apartment in Burnaby, and I have to sign up for Shaw Business, and it costs me like $70 a month. And I have to buy a Dell desktop that I use as a server, and what else? I had to learn networking, which completely frustrated me. I'm a developer guy, so so really that simple idea of just kind of like doing a quick demo.
I think the big things are
There we go. I think it's things that I'm not in there. So and then it all of a sudden turned into this big ordeal. I had to learn VMware and do all this stuff just to like create a prototype environment. So and if you think about a lot of like people have a lot of good ideas and stuff, how to implement some sort of prototypes at work or personal, right? There's a lot of development happening, and so people have a lot of good ideas, but those ideas pretty much doomed from day one, right? They're doomed because of the hardware reliability, or by the way, that evening when I was presenting, obviously the network wasn't cooperating. What else could go wrong? But in a real world scenario, you have scalability, obviously issues, right? Networking, licensing. Who can afford a bunch of licenses, right? And install them. So it's kind of challenging right away. So for someone who wants to try things out and someone who's looking to prototype something, it can be a really big challenge. They have to basically go this route, which is not really it's not really something that you can go with. So the real story from 2009, I told you about this whole presentation story. So with Azure, so something that you may or may not know, but Azure provides a lot of standard templates, VM templates in particular, that are all pre-configured and ready to go. And obviously, since I'm a SharePoint guy, I'll be a little bit biased in terms of some of the templates that I'll show you. But they're like ready to go. There's SQL installed in them. There's lots of Windows, SharePoint pre-configured or scripts running. So it's actually makes it really easy and simple to go from something that's completely blank, having been set up, to something that's ready to go. So let me show you some of this in practice. You guys can all see my screen, right? Not now, so I'll move this over here. No, that's not good. How about this? There, that's better. Alright, so has anybody seen Azure, the actual Azure, I guess, dashboard, you would call it? Okay, hey guys. That's Firefox. I use Firefox because I'm a developer. I will stop any comments about browsers. Sorry about here. I don't want to say this stuff is being recorded. No, I like that. There's a lot of cool stuff that's right now available on IE and other browsers, but at the time, Firefox had the most. So I'm kind of stuck there. I have it, I guess. Although I do have Chrome.
Yeah, this one. You got Chrome there, but I don't know there's.
What is it? Yeah, I do have Chrome. Did I just gain like 10 points of your attack right now? Yeah. No, I should do this. We have this Fitbit challenge at work, so I'm doing one. I hate this thing every time.
No, it's actually a really good once you plug it in, and you can do a lot as a developer with it. It's way better than this thing, the Pebble.
Did you get the Apple one?
No, this is the Pebble Watch.
Oh, right.
The Apple one, I don't think even developers have access to it yet. And you have to probably be like, you have to be probably their best friend and never say anything about them before they go to you.
And the new portal is pretty well meant to run in browser.
Which one?
This thing.
Oh, yeah.
Their goal is now.
Absolutely. It's compatible with a lot of different things. So anyway, first thing you sign up with a trial, right? You get some sort of like a credit, right? So they give you Azure subscription gives you credit. So there's my credit. some dollar amount that you will get with the trial that expires every month, et cetera. So, like for me, it would be okay. So, okay, I have this dollar credit. How much is it really? How much do I get? So if you Google Azure Calculator, which I've already done here, there's basically, and I'll show you some of those components and how much they, how much they cost. But for example, if you wanted a VM, right? Let's say you want to create some sort of a development environment and you want to set it up, you want to connect to it. So you pick the type of VM that you want. In this case, small, medium, large, and then how many. And it tells you how much RAM it gets, and it kind of calculates the final cost. So, and that's if it was running like 20%. What I do a lot with my VMs, obviously, even though I have a lot of credit, well, not a lot, I have like $150 credit or something like that. This SharePoint VM that I'm running here, it requires large VM, right, to run. So basically, like 14 gigs of RAM. So this one. So obviously I can't afford to run it 24/7, right? But since it's my prototype environment, I can just, I just shut it down. So every time, see, this one's running, this one's stopped. So this one's running and I can shut it down and then it doesn't use up the dollars. So you're done for the day, you shut it down.
But aren't you still running certain storage costs in terms of the imaging of it?
That's a good question. I don't think you are incurring costs.
A VM that's not running doesn't cost anything.
I don't quote me on that. Okay. But I don't think you are because I don't quite use the VM anymore as much. But I remember when it's shut down quite often, and my credit's barely getting. But I have a website running here, so I don't think you are. But again, don't quote me on that.
I would say triple check that.
Yeah.
Because I think the normal thing is actually say to deprovision it.
Yeah. To actually remove it. Okay.
If you want for any cost.
I think if you're gonna run, it's gonna be something like $6 or more.
Oh yeah. It's
something
not
really
big.
big.
The blob search is pretty cheap.
Yeah. It's still good enough. Sorry.
You got one in Europe and one in the US.
Yeah, it's just like super quick choice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can. So let me kind of show you how you can create it. Right? Really, for example, click the new button. Let's do that. Yeah. And then so the one that I'm using for is from Gallery, right? And for example, so there's quite a lot of them. I have all selected here, and there's I'm not gonna go through it. It's basically a bunch of templates that are here available. There's like Oracle setup, there's Windows setup, there's VMs that have Visual Studio installed in them. So for example, the one that I'm using, there's some Linux VMs. So the VM that I'm using, or you can, by the way, upload your own image and then create an image, create it from your own image. So for example, they don't have here like Windows XP with like weird browsers, right? But I find that sometimes for testing, you wanna spin up Windows XP machine. Yes, despite all the news and everything that's custom, so either that or just like older version of something. So you can actually upload a disk or upload an image and then have it spin up a VM from that. The one that I'm using, for example, for SharePoint development is this Visual Studio template. This is also what this is great for is like a new Visual Studio, or new development tools. Like I remember every time development tools come out, I'm spending like hours setting them up, and it just doesn't work. And you have to download this and install that. You have to do it in a special order. So this is really good for if you want to try, like for example, 2015 preview Visual Studio came out. I didn't even know that. Okay. Somehow they skipped 2014. So you can spin up a VM really, really fast.
And it just came out good in 2015.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So I have one running here. that's my SharePoint VM, right? And just to show you that it's not some sort of a weird looking VM, it's normal VM. It's like you would RDP to anywhere else. Yeah, you just click connect, and typically, there you go. It gives you this RDP file, the connection file. I typically just save it, and even though I shut it down, it's the same file works. So somehow it keeps my the connection information doesn't get mixed up. So it's not like you have to re-download this every time. I had it saved for like a year, and it still works okay. So as a part of that creation process, I skipped the screen, but as a part of that creation process, you create a password for your VM that you're about to set up, and that's just any password. It doesn't have to be any. You don't have to create an AD or federate anything. It just works. So then it's connected. Obviously, I had this machine shut down for several months. So this is probably took a while to spin it up. But to create a VM that's even as big and complicated as that one, it takes about 15 minutes, and then you start it off and it just works. So it's something to keep in mind. And again, that's something that wasn't in this agenda, but I think from a practicality standpoint, it's something that was really, really useful for you guys to know. So while this is still securing things,
did you actually start your VM?
Yeah, it is running.
Oh, I thought you were connecting to your stuff. Okay.
No, so there. It's probably taking a while because I haven't connected it. But it will start up. And it just looks like a regular desktop. There you go. Now it's secure. Probably creating one in the back. Anyway, it'll pop up when it's ready. Probably just don't know. But yeah, so any questions in terms of set up the VM, the actual VM?
Yeah, they make changes weekly. Do you say make it like the latest image, or when you say don't?
You're right. They do remove stuff from gallery here. Like they keep it pretty up to date. So like old stuff is not here anymore. But if you create an image, it's your image, right? Because you can potentially keep your data in there. Okay. So and it's up to you if you want to patch it, not patch it. You're basically.
But your image that you take from a template will not maintain. It won't not be up. It's up to you to maintain it.
Exactly. It's your image, right? I don't know what happened with that window, by the way, guys, but it may show up. It's funny to have it here. Fired up again. I don't know. Maybe it opened another tab. No. Maybe you can create task manager.
Right click at the bottom.
Yeah. I know. I'm just kidding.
I see the process is still running.
Let me be clear. Like I don't want to offend anyone, but it's just my style. You can do a lot of.
You'll heckle the hecklers.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
So
it's
sorry.
a good style.
Sorry. Sometimes I push the line to you. I guess there would be. Anyway, let's just cancel it. I don't know what's going on. Let me shut it down. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it's just like a normal machine that you connect to, and it works pretty well. If you gave it enough RAM and stuff, it works pretty well. So let me see, what do we have here? Oh, there's some screenshots. I took this in case things didn't work out with the internet. So some of the use cases. So a lot of customers, actually, I had this presentation with a customer last week, and they are like, well, what do we use it for? We know there is an Azure and the whole thing. What do we actually use it for? Do we use it for production? So I find the sweet spot for Azure VM is prototype environment when you need to spin up something really fast. Development environment is perfect. In fact, I don't know if I mentioned it. I work for a company called Avanade. It's basically a consulting company. We're a global consulting company. We have about 7,000 people. So we have our own. It's not a data center. It's we call them dynamic computing services. They're kind of a compute provider for us. It's a department, but they run Azure on the back end. So every time there's a new project, and there's projects like using all sorts of technology, right? SharePoint, Sitefinity, or Sitecore, support other things, and Visual Studio, all sorts of versions being supported like 2010, SharePoint 2013, Office 365, etc. And we use Azure in the backend for development environment. We know that we have to have storage control. Cannot store. It's not a reliable storage place for you. It may blow up one day and you need to scrap something. It never happens with many projects that I work for. But we use it personally for development environments. So development environment is perfect for that. Very, very cheap. Just think of it this way. It's like if it's $400 to set up if it's $400 to set up a development environment that like 7 or 14 gigs of RAM, then sure if you're doing it like once in a blue moon, right? But yeah, for sure, it's you can have someone do it for you all the time. But if you're doing it every time, it adds up. The cost adds up. So it just doesn't make sense. So for us, that's perfect. What else? Staging environment, right? Again, test environment before you go into production. And some companies even use it for hybrid production environment. So yeah, exactly. Like a hybrid, if they have some sort. Basically, here's what hybrid environment is usually used for. Correct me guys if some of you disagree, because again, I will qualify as a developer. So, in my view, the hybrid environment, if you have already something in the cloud, let's say you're running a collaboration suite, like SharePoint online in the cloud, but you need to interact with your on-premises like SAP or Oracle. You need some sort of intermediary layer, right? So you can create an Azure intermediary layer in the cloud that will have trust set up in your on-premises system. So you can talk to your SAP or Oracle through Azure, and then from there information is going to be surfaced and then back to it. Sure.
Also a way of failover.
Mm-hmm. Yes, another one, failover environment. Yes. So there is no Canadian data centers in this. That's another thing to keep in mind. They're all in the US and Europe, so that's just something people feel different. So yeah, sometimes actual live data failover environment implies that you have actual data there. Some people are really kind of not into it. So from the setup perspective, you click, you've seen these windows. So this is where you set up, the size of the VM, you come up with the username and password that you're going to connect to it, and you come up with the name of the, see where it says cloudapp.net, second box. You come up with where you're going to host it here. Yeah, you can change some ports to remote desktop. PowerShell. So I talked about how these can be used in time. Next one, I wanted to talk about Azure websites. Got any questions so far? No. Real story about Azure websites. Alright, so here's what happened. I don't know, you guys obviously don't know about my blog, right? Because you're not
Share something,
right? Exactly. ShareMike.com, right? So, one thing that you guys probably don't know about, so I had quite, I have a lot of, I had quite a lot of visitors come to this blog. And there used to be a time when I updated it every second day or something like that, so there was a lot of articles. I think last year or so I had 700 articles. So there was a lot of articles. That's where I promote my book and stuff like that. So what happened is that once in a while, and I used to have it posted at the hosting provider called I'm not going to name it. Anyway, it sucked. Some hosting provider.
Didn't meet your needs.
It didn't meet my needs. Let's just say they probably didn't run antivirus. So my site got regularly hacked. Right? Well, when I say regularly, I actually, I think it was 3 or 4 times when it was literally hacked. The on page was fixed. So actually, I Googled it the other time, and those people I was pretty proud of what they're doing. So they actually posted online the screenshot of the hack. So I got basically hacked. So this was like one of the latest hacks that they kind of brag about. So this is how my site looked. I like how they're very apologetic. Sorry, I didn't do it. Anyway, so this is the homepage of my site. Needless to say, I got some Twitter messages saying, "Your site, what happened?" So, but there was a lot of uploads. So there was a lot of times. I think three times for sure it was hacked. And usually it was hacked because I'm running WordPress, right? Sorry, WordPress. You suck too. So I'm running WordPress, right? And it's just obviously it's just the nature of software. It's a great software and everything, but it's just the nature of it that everybody contributes to it, right? It's open, so it's open for an attack, right? So you could say that it's very reliable because the source code is out there and people are, it's hard to hack it, but people still hack it.
Can be reliably hacked. All right.
It can be reliably hacked, right? So here's the thing. So a couple of times it's been hacked where some files were changed. Something was uploaded to the root, so therefore, the whole page became something else. The last time that it was changed, they had quite a blast with my website. They have completely, they have completely actually gained access to the database. And also hosted by this awesome provider. So they gained access to the database. They changed hundreds, I would say thousands of links. You can tell there's, if you have 700 blog posts, those blog posts have links, and those links are to images and stuff like screenshots, right? So they've replaced thousands of links to their dirty links to like drugs and stuff. Well, it was just drugs at the time. And I had to clean it up for 3 weeks. Every day after work, I was coming in home for hours, 3 hours, sitting and cleaning, replacing. A lot of the information was lost. Some articles were so polluted that I actually deleted them. So now I don't have 700 posts anymore. It's maybe like quarter less. It's horrible, right? I know. It's my fault though, because I signed up for this hosting like back in 2007, and here it's 2013. It was happening. It's just so happened. Ignorance, right? That's what it is. So, but why we're here, why we're talking about it is because what I've noticed is I'm using corporate laptop, right? And we're running Forefront, whatever it is, antivirus, antivirus. What I've noticed is that as I downloaded this bunch of files to my laptop, searched for weeks, what is the alternative, right? Because one thing you're cleaning the database, is another thing when you still fix what's broken. So as I downloaded it to my laptop, it started firing up, hey, there's a virus, there's Trojan. And I'm like, what? How come my corporate laptop found it and my hosting provider didn't? So at that point, I already knew a lot about Azure. I used it for VMs, right? And I'm like, well, since Microsoft advertises that they, you can run actual WordPress or whatever CMS you want on Azure, and it's Windows infrastructure, and they have antivirus on it. I'm like, why don't I try that? So sure enough, I fixed whatever was broken with it, with my WordPress. And I put it in Azure, and had no problem since. It's running superb, reliable hosting. From a pricing perspective, this is obviously I'll show you guys that, but there's free hosting, there's shared hosting, and there's like dedicated hosting, and there's even more dedicated hosting. So shared hosting is like exactly the same what my provider was charging, right? And they don't even run antivirus. So, or whatever they're running, I don't know, maybe some squirrel or wheel that's their antivirus, but it, so it's pretty competitive from that standpoint. And I quite like it. And one thing that I did, so it was running on shared, but one thing that I did, I thought of it, because there's no backup. With my old provider, I didn't even have like a backup or anything. It was just like, I'm sorry, it's gone. So, with these guys, with Azure, if you upgrade to a dedicated, you actually can do backups and historical backups. So literally, if your database gets hacked, if it gets hacked, you can roll up the old one instantaneously in a matter of like under a minute, right? How far? Yeah. I don't know, but I have like 7 pages, 15 every day. And, well, a lot of that. We'll take a look at it. A lot, probably like 2 months, or maybe as much as storage. I don't know. We'll check it out. But it's quite a lot. And you know, it's great because the thing is that if someone tells me your blog has been hacked, right? Probably got hacked like 2 days ago or something like that. So by that time, I can roll back and I can live with the fact that two of my articles are, or I can copy those articles. So anyway, so I personally cannot imagine, you know, and this is my blog. It's not a business website. Sure, I promote my books on it, but it's not a business critical. Like, it was sad that some, whatever, 200 articles I have to delete or whatever, but I can imagine if someone's business relies on it, and on the top of everything that they have to do, they have to also now resolve issues like this. It's pretty horrible. Anyway, so let me show you in practicality how you can set up a website on that WordPress website. Right? So you go to websites, and you can see there are 2 running. I'm not going to shut any of them down because they're actual production websites. But I'm just going to click New, and I'm going to click from Gallery again. So, and in here, I don't know, I checked it out recently, and I was just amazed how many frameworks you can have here. You can have, like, for instance, you click on the blogs category. Some of those things, I mean, there's you know, PHP, there's .NET systems here, there's my WordPress right here. There's these other ones that I don't even know. So that's blogs. There's Joomla, Drupal, what have you, right? What else we have here? What else I know here? I realize that I don't know enough, basically. That's how many there are. There's e-commerce packages. So, and I actually set some of them up, just to try it. So there's Drupal Commerce, Kickstart, there's some .NET Commerce, packages. There's forms. Galleries, I don't really use galleries. Okay, there's galleries. Anyway, there's a lot of different templates, right? We go templates. So I picked the blog, I picked my WordPress, right? And I click next. I came up with a URL. So this URL can be anything. Because you can make it custom. Even if you're on shared, you can have it dedicated. The only one that you cannot have custom is when you are on free. So if you're on free, I'm sorry, your blog is going to be SharePoint at AzureWebsites.net. Unless you have a redirect. But for shared, you can have basically custom URL. You pick up a free database, you know, subscription, all of that. This I usually, this is just basically a solve for a bunch of things that are used in WordPress. So then you click next, and that's the database that you pick. And that's it. You click OK, and literally within 5 minutes or so, you have an instance of WordPress set up on this URL that you want. So once you have it set up, it's running like this, and then you can just go to it, and it's just like a regular site. Right? So let's check out what you get from it. So once I click on it, So I have access to dashboards. So, and this is again something that my provider didn't give me. They didn't give me these stats. And you can actually set up alerts. So you can set up alerts depending on the traffic and what you want to do. Do you want to be notified that this is happening, or do you want to turn in there and check it out every time? You can check out for some errors that are, if there's errors that are happening. It's probably people trying to hack it, which is exactly what's happening. There's a lot, I did not realize there's a lot of people trying to hack every hour of the day. It's amazing. People are, like, I get on my blog, like, every day about 10 comments and I have comments disabled. So there's people trying to hack in automatic fashion. You basically iterate through IP addresses, see, is it a WordPress? Okay, let's launch 180 exploits, see if I can, get, if anything works. Exactly. So there's a lot of stuff like that. So there's obviously a more granular info here. One thing I wanted to actually show you is the scale. And here's what I found amazingly fascinating. And that's how easy it is to turn this side from a cheap, shared hosting. Well, okay, it's not cheap. I had it for a long time. I'm not going to say it's cheap. It's good. To actual machine, virtual machine, to the WordPress running virtual machine. It's amazing. It took literally like less than 2 minutes. I just clicked here, click standard. And welcome back. I just clicked standard and it converted it. And then, like, for me to do something like, I would have to set up a server, install IaaS, do all sorts of bunch of things, move my files there. And here, I just click standard, and I have now access to all sorts of features that come with it, including that backup thing that you guys were asking me about. And I'll show you the backup thing. It's right here. But one thing that you can do also with standard is you can scale it automatically based on CPU or memory usage. You can scale it automatically. So you can literally spin up automatically a second instance of a web server if CPU is being used beyond certain. So I personally did not find the need for that, but and obviously you're paying for it. The more you're allowed to scale, the more you're going to pay for it, and they're going to scale it up, right? But I found it's amazing because, a lot of these companies, you hear the startup. Remember these days when you go on Twitter and then you get the little fish that says, oh, sorry, we're having an outage because they were so popular. So you hear of startups, worrying and scaring and being scared so much of the scalability and how they're going to scale because they sign up with this band and now all of the fans of that band are now on Flickr or whatever they were using. And it's amazing that here it's just a click of a button and it takes care of all of your scaling. It's amazing. It was truly amazing for someone who's heard those stories just a few years ago. Now it's sort of solved for you, and it's in the cloud. And it's pretty competitively priced. So now my blog is running a dedicated VM, right? It doesn't cost a lot. Again, if I go to my pricing calculator, let's see what we're looking at here. So obviously there's bandwidth, there, standard, right? So I'm running with standard, I'm running small because it's WordPress, right? It's 1 VM, there, it's 74. Bandwidth, I don't know how much I'm using bandwidth, but look at this, 50 gigs, $5 per month. Sure, I don't know how much I'm using, but look, $79 a month. So, and it's US obviously, but, and that's a dedicated VM running my website. What I did notice though, because I run another website that's been shared, I did notice that the response time is immediate. Because your website is constantly running. It's cached, it's good to go, it's running, it's like the response is immediate. Like, I never have to wait, right? I hit it, and it's loading up right away. It's a big page. just load it up. So there's images, all that stuff. So it's pretty fast. If I'm on share, let's see how much that's going to cost. One side on share is going to cost you $14 a month. If you add up like a yearly, this is how much my other provider cost me. So it's quite astonishing. So that's how simple it is. So let me show you the backups. So I have automated backup turned on. You can specify the frequency every day. Every day is grayed out. Every day is good. Time to kind of not grayed out at some point. But here's you can do on-demand backup. But here's the restore now, and I can so what is it? 11 pages. The last one was August 14th, right?
The oldest one.
The oldest one. Yeah, exactly. So this is November 11th right now. So I suspect that this page, like I don't know, I can't remember whether that's what when I migrated. No, it can't be. I migrated way before. So I think this is math. I don't know. But anyway, look at this. So it's 100 meg each day, and it's just and I can restore it pretty much anytime to a given point. I just select it, click next one, I'm going to restore it back. But you get the point.
Are you restoring over top of what you've got, or are you restoring to a new VM?
That's a question. That's a good question. I haven't tried it. I'm not going to try it yet. I don't know. That's a good question. Very good question. I think I would
It's a
assume
backup of your database.
Yeah.
It's not backup of your site. It's back your site's database driven.
It-
Or
it
is
is
it backup
that-
of all your binaries?
I think it's a backup of everything. Because my database, my site is not like whatever 89 database. And database is just SQL. It's I don't know if it's SQL or MySQL. It's WordPress, do both. But I think it's everything.
Because it says database is included.
Included database is one database.
And you only have to protect it.
Yeah. So it's probably that one and the storage. And I'm not sure if it's actual website. But to be honest with you,
And that's your blob storage account.
Yeah.
Like when you create your Azure account, you automatically sort of create you have sort of implicitly a blob assigned to your account.
That's alright.
That's all right.
Thank you.
This is a comedy segment.
Yes, it is. Also difficulty get two servers want to make sure they're in the same data.
In the same region.
Okay.
That's where you're
Right.
Because the bandwidth is invisible. There's no cross-region bandwidth.
Yeah.
Internal bandwidth, you don't get charged.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Makes sense. So anyway, very, very straightforward, right? There's nothing really, like I was amazed how straightforward it is. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it today, and then back then, and then I'll do it for real tomorrow. And then I tried it and it was set up, and I'm like, okay, I guess now I have to migrate. So it's pretty straightforward. Any questions again? Does this sound like something? So my biggest thing was that it's now, I literally a huge thing like was really for me when I found out that this properly antivirus environment that I'm not gonna have to. Literally, it's huge. If you were to take like being a consultant, like you think consultant time, like the amount of sort of billable hours I spend on this is insane, and that's a blog, right? I spend literally like 3 hours a day for 3 weeks, and on the weekend I spend like 6 hours. But it's crazy amount of time just to restore someone's playing with your data, right? So if you have, and we haven't heard those stories, the hacking stories for a long time now. And now there's so many stories now. A lot of companies are hacked into it. And you think about it, and you're like, wow, you cannot be ignorant. You cannot be ignorant, right? I've been ignorant with my blog. This is what happened to me. Someone showed me to not be ignorant. It's the same thing with these large companies. People thought that, oh, it's fine. It's, it's not a big deal. Probably doesn't happen. Thing of the past, right? So just think about, having a peace of mind in terms of having the proper infrastructure taken care of. Buys a lot of. So.
But on the website now, of course, for this free account, when a shared account, you just have a web space, you administer it with FTP to update and download. Yeah. On the standard, are you actually logging on to the server to do any kind of administration, or are you again doing just FTP? You can actually log on to the server in standard?
But I didn't, I just did the app.
Okay. And you're doing like an iOS site then?
It's an iOS site. Yeah. Very good.
So the system, when you buy one of these here templates, whether it's standard or shared or whatever, do you actually get access to in this case, a WordPress site? Do you actually get access to the underlying code so you can put in your own style and structure to the site, as opposed to just being able to change the templates that are there?
This is a custom site. Like I put yeah, absolutely, yes.
You have full access to the underlying PHP.
Basically,
you can mess it up completely.
Yes, you can. Yes. And I did on my old site, right? I had access to FTP and I could upload and download things, right? The same thing here. There's nothing changed here. I have FileZilla that I can connect to, and I see all of the data there. I can change the styles, have custom styles there. So.
But you could actually log on to the local hard disk of the VM and look at the C drive and
I didn't have to do that.
You didn't have to, you wouldn't want to want it, but
I could.
If you wanted to have a quick way of uploading a series of files or whatever.
It's dedicated, so yeah, I can do that.
So then what's the difference between shared and custom and all those other things?
Shared you're with a bunch of other tenants, right? So I've noticed for sure the response time drops, right? The response time is not as fast.
What I'm trying to get at is that if it's shared, am I sharing a VM with a bunch of with a single instance of WordPress on it? In this particular case, is it a single instance of WordPress which is running multiple blogs? Am I running a separate instance of WordPress on the same VM that I'm sharing with other people?
Yeah.
Or am I getting because it's a shared pipe or something like that, whereby I get my own VM with everything on it?
Yes to all. No.
I'm out of here.
Your standard has its own network.
So you have your own copy of files, and so you run your own separate instance of WordPress. In this case, on shared. Okay. The only thing that's shared, you're sharing one machine, and I have my own folder that Peter can access. He can have his own folder, et cetera, but we're sharing the resources.
The IS is shared, but the sites are all isolated.
Yeah. And
very isolated by account. Is it multiple instances of IS? No, it's IS with multiple sites. Is it shared hosting, isn't it? If you're in free and shared, a shared hosting will be shared sites on a single machine.
And the reason also why it's slowed down because the IS Pro sites get reset once in a while because a bunch of people are running, right? So that's why your site sometimes if you haven't accessed it for a while, it's kind of it comes up for 10 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds. But on dedicated, it's just like that all the time. Really fast. Because it's your dedicated actual VM, dedicated VM. That's the only thing. The performance is the only difference that I've noticed from a functionality standpoint. And then backups, right? Backups, you don't have backups with shared. I forgot to do that. But for performance is the biggest thing. Backups and and scale, right? So obviously, because it's shared, so you don't really get scale. You can scale only through the dedicated. Which, to be honest with you, if you need a dedicated, it's actually pretty cheap. $70 a month to have bandwidth and everything here.
Now, if you use free or shared, you're using your own database, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that has its own backup options too, doesn't it? You If you go and use your own blob storage or your
Yeah,
your own
you
database,
can do that.
but it might be a manual, so it's there.
But yeah, absolutely.
What we're talking about websites? Or a question or a comment for you? The advertising about the 10 free. You know about that?
Great.
Websites
Oh,
that come with accounts. I'm not sure how exactly that works. Nope. Okay, I'm not sure, but I know it's something that's an offering now. I'm not sure it's associated with a specific subscription plan or available to everyone.
you know,
right now,
Azure is so competitive. Like, I just got an email today that they're dropping prices on something. I didn't even read because this is like a 50 email this week. But it's been a couple of weeks ago. There's been another one saying they're dropping in prices, right? So I'm sure they're competitive.
This has been for a while, and I haven't really investigated yet in terms of. I guess there are certain costs in terms of, but it doesn't cost you anything to have up to 10 websites. I'm not sure if that's on a specific.
Well, this
level.
one there's a free option, right? Like, actually, let's check.
Maybe
it
that's
out.
what free means. Maybe that's what that's about.
That's probably. Oh, there.
There you go.
On
Run up to 10
website.
per region. So you can have more. If you have multiple regions, you can run up more.
But look, I don't get it.
If you're planning to have zero bandwidth access to your website
Right.
between US and Europe, I guess, or out of those egress.
They do it probably.
Egress is out of the bottom. It's how much your page, how much data your websites are serving up.
Oh yeah.
Right? Not the request coming to your website, but how much your website is serving up. So if everyone makes small requests, but your website is set, you're always uploading big MP3s or something, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
But you can do that even with a free plan.
Well,
You have the websites are free, but the
Yeah.
usage is
The
what you
usage
pay
is
for.
okay.
So if you put up a banner page, a brochure page, a website up, it could consider to be free or minimal cost.
Well, let's
But
get
what's
two visitors.
what's
it costs 50 cents.
there you go. What's your minimum click on that bandwidth?
I don't know.
How do you click it up to like a megabyte, or is it?
You're
It
asking
starts
all
at
the
one. It
questions.
looks like it has to start at 1 gigabyte, right? You can't just shift the arrow over one, right?
Yeah.
That
That count.
I mean, what does it mean to say zero? It seems like a funny number.
Yeah. 2 gigabytes. Oh, there.
Oh,
2
two is still
gigabytes.
zero. There you go. So there's
There
some
you
included
go.
bandwidth as well.
That's perfect.
And there are options with your web. There are options with certain systems where you say, once I've used up my free quota for every month, or depending on what kind of subscription you have, don't go over that
Yes.
as well. So you don't have to worry about spending anything.
Exactly. You know, charge.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although I haven't never reached that, but yes, there are.
Can you use port 80 to go to a virtual machine?
Using port 80, I don't know.
RDP is pre-established when you sort of set it up.
Right, but can you browse to a...
That's a good question.
They're not standard port numbers. They're arbitrarily assigned to the RDP ports. And you can set it on a static machine creation, or you let it just auto-generate it. Because the ports have to be manually assigned, or a firewall has to be allowed.
So there is your FTP hosting, all of these, the deployment user. I'm just trying to see whether, I remember setting it up, the actual, one thing I wanted to show you, before I forget, the domain management. So this is basically how you set up your custom domain. So basically you need to put, forgetting which one, on the CNAME, you need to put your, specific, Azure,
Your assigned IP.
verify, exactly, and then that's basically how you set up your custom domain for both shared and dedicated, not for free.
Sorry, you can assign it. Well, if you have your own domain in a shared environment, you can also take it over. What's basic then?
Basic? That's a good question. Let's see, scale. Was it here as well?
Yeah. What the load balance unlimited per region.
Up to 3 manual scale dedicated instances. Okay, so this is basically
And unlimited websites.
how many you can scale, right? Mm-hmm. So So I guess I'm overpaying for standard. Am I actually? Yeah, no. I think there was time when they were changing. Basic was in preview or something like that, or there was no basic. They're changing this UI quite a lot and adding new offerings.
They just recently added more powerful VM imagery, like more core, advanced cores and stuff like that. I've just recently been added.
Because I don't remember basics, seeing basic there. Otherwise, I would know it's 100%. I haven't read what else is standard.
It's good to review Courier as well to see.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You can just click and say. I don't know what that's going to do, so I'm not going to do it right now.
The one thing you could also change, I noticed at the very bottom where you listed the type of subscription you have.
Yeah.
Right now you're on pay as you go, and that is something I came across. You can change that, but only once a month.
Oh, is that right?
And it's happened only, I think, like if you want to change it so you have that threshold limit versus not, which are both flavors of pay as you go.
Yeah.
You can only sort of change that at the monthly transition of your account.
Okay. That's good to know. See you guys.
In the old days, it used to be the default that you would not have that threshold limiting, and now as I understand, all new subscriptions that is the default. They haven't changed on it, but mine was older, so.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's the real story. I know, right? Okay, great. So yeah, let's just go through the. So any questions about this?
So if you have an Azure SharePoint, and you create workloads. Well, if it's so, like you get a list, and you want to do alert.
So so you're talking about the machines or websites?
You're in Azure.
Yeah.
And if you can use SharePoint.
Yeah, you can do anything. It's like a full machine. You can run anything.
And I mean, now you're normally access to a SharePoint site through. Does it run its own HTTP service, or you actually run through IIS now?
It's running through IIS.
So if you got a port 80 and a port whatever, 443 if you want.
Absolutely, yeah. It can run its own machine. It's just not easily configured like these other websites. You don't have like a SharePoint option, right?
A pre-SharePoint.
There's Office 365, but that's not part of it. Okay, so
might you want to turn on your mobility setting for like to turn off the screen? I turn on your screensavers. What's interrupting you?
I know. I don't know what's happening. It usually never does that.
If you go to your battery and just say mobility settings, so I don't see your battery more. Well, you got multiple screens going.
Yeah. Okay. I'm right. We have this really strict security at work where we can't leave our computer unlocked for no time, otherwise you get busted. And I'm already like on the list of you're busted, buddy. I got those cards every time. So Azure Learning. So how many of you heard about Azure Learning?
Don't know what it is.
If you want to say Cora,
I
would gladly learn what that is. So, okay, sorry, I just realized I put my microphone. People aren't recording. Machine learning. So, I'll disambiguate it. I'm not gonna, one thing I'll tell you for sure. I'm not gonna give you a demo of setting up a machine learning experiment. You guys can do it on your own. The reason I'm doing it for your own good, so you don't fall asleep, because I know some of you have to be really comfortable. That's why I'm standing here, halfway standing, because I'm afraid I'm going to fall asleep talking about it. Anyway, so machine learning is I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember back from school, computation algorithms, machine learning, and the graphs and how you pass a number of different data onto your graph, and it learns, okay, this must be the pattern. This is what this is. But something more practical from machine learning, as you guys have definitely seen, is your spam filter, right? Machine learning, your spam filter. Or sometimes they do this really annoying things like you log in your bank website and they're like, enter your mother's maiden name. We're like, why? Well, because you've logged in through like some weird from the hotel or somewhere, right? Or Microsoft does that too on like Hotmail. I know sometimes they're like, oh, you need to enter security code to, it's sent to your text message. Like, so anyway, so there's very practical, machine learning scenarios. It's not all about stock prediction and everything, but you can use it for that too. And, this being Azure, it's very easy to set up, right? It's, all you do is go to the machine learning thing and then click next. So, anyway, I'll show you how to set it up. But one thing I'm not going to spend too much time on machine learning, per se, but one thing I wanted to tell you, basically, why Azure makes it really easy, is because with Azure, you can set up your machine. There's first of all, there's templates, and second of all, you can expose these as web services. And I think that's the best, because for someone like who's a developer but not in the machine learning industry per se, I want to take the benefits of it. I don't want to like learn what machine learning is about, right? So I would like to take the benefits. Yes, I would like to see like valid login, obtain valid login, whatever. Is it a valid login or not a valid login? Or give me some sort of prediction. But I don't want to learn all about it. Sure, if you're, for example, let's say you're a factory and you are, I don't know if you guys know that, but I didn't know that. But I had a customer recently that they were a factory and they had these like shutdowns every now and then to like shut everything down and check all of their equipment and make sure it's not really any problems, right? So and they kind of apply past experiences. Okay, should we do a repair in this area or should we like check this area? So if you feed the historical data to something like machine learning, you can say, you know what? We find that with this particular, when this much stuff goes through this machine, it breaks down, and you need to check it more often than the manual stuff. So in that case, you may want to set up, your custom algorithm to feed your custom data. To be honest with you, right now I find like I can almost guarantee you that none of you guys know or anyone watching this video. Probably, maybe some of you are going to be like, oh my god, that's awesome, that's what I've been waiting for. That's great. There is a tool for that, but every time I looked at it, it looks certainly nice. You see it. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. I don't want to.
So you could scan your blog post and see how many times you use the word the.
Yeah, exactly.
Or how many times you mention your website.
Or
someone else's website.
I can go on YouTube, actually, there's someone posted in my comments saying, this is very distracting. So I can go on YouTube and read that too. So no, it's great. So is the tool available there? Like one thing I'll mention, something again, being a SharePoint guy, and I know that Microsoft is doing, actually launched a tool that uses very handy machine learning. Very practical reason for it is what they're doing is that they're feeding information on who emails you and other inputs from SharePoint and from Exchange to show you a graphical representation of people that you should be following. The Twitter following. SharePoint has its own following. I assume you guys know that. You probably don't. So SharePoint has their own follow this person enterprise following. So they're using machine learning to kind of see maybe who you should be following. And that helps a lot of people because if I'm new, I don't know who I'm following. I don't know. Should I be following him? I don't know. I'm working on this project. Should I be following this guy? Should I be following that guy? I don't know. So machine learning is used in that particular.
Isn't that deterministic though? I mean, that's just a statistical cross correlation function, right?
Sure.
Your other example was, did I log in? That's deterministic, right?
Yeah.
I would expect that there's some sort of more heuristical type
then you're
algorithms or whatever that this could be using. You know, I mean, the examples so far that you've given are all deterministic.
Well, even the following one could be the case where it says, well, normally you would deterministically say, oh, this person, but the fact is, no one else does. Don't bother telling YouTube.
It's true, but you know the funny thing is, and again, that's going back.
Again, if it's within the system, it's deterministic, right? You know, it's just setting a series of levels and stuff.
It's true.
You know,
it's true, and you know sometimes like I remember back from my school example, I'm like, why can't I just write an if statement? It's so simple.
Yes. Generally, learning systems are predictive.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, is this? You know, I'm predicting that this is spam because of the words that are in it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or how it's come in or the routing or whatever.
Yeah.
And such.
But sometimes
as opposed to should I follow somebody? These are the rules. You know, a lot of the.
It's true, but think of it this way: what if I, you know, they're working on the same project, or the title is the same, but they're actually not. You know, once I clicked on that person's name, turns out that they're in finance and I'm in engineering. Therefore, just because they're working on the same project, I totally have no interest with their software. Anyway, maybe it's a bad example, but you know, sometimes obviously there's a room for machine learning. Maybe it's just a bad example that I've given.
Right, that's it. But is there no structure here for predictive algorithms? Is that some sort of heuristic as opposed
Let me
to...
show you what it does. You tell me what it does.
Actually, could you go back to the creation slide?
Yeah.
Or are you going to have to go through that step?
I will show you. Not to worry. Okay. Alright, so machine learning. All the way in the bottom. I think it was saying last time it was in beta. That's the one. Oh yeah, it's still in preview. Oh, it's in preview. So here you go, quick create, workspace name. It creates the workspace. Completed. Double click. Right, open in Studio. So there's a special studio that kind of launches full screen UI for machine learning. Alright, so gives you a little welcome screen. I'm gonna click OK here because I'm a developer, I know everything. That's where you set up your experiments, and there's some samples here. So I'll give you some of the samples that are here. Okay, all of these. You guys you find this slide delayed prediction? And those are just samples, right? Movie recommender. Network inclusion detection. Yeah, let's put them up. So there's your little tree on how you can, things that, where the data comes from and what kind of analysis you're going to run on. Okay, I totally have no idea what I'm clicking on right now. So
it's top down. Can you just show how it starts?
So yeah, absolutely. So you basically let me zoom out. I ran one of those, and I'm like, okay, great, fun. So I think I'm missing a step here because I think you need to save it and then it runs. Because those were just yes. You save it and then you run. And
the other one said it was finished. So yeah.
One thing that I've noticed is it takes quite a while to run it. But once you run it, you can actually publish a web service where you can put input and get out. I don't know.
So like what there it says has a start time and end time of November. It looked like November 4th.
Yeah.
So was it picking up like bandwidth activity of your site from that? Oh no, they're now showing today's thing. So you had run this one once before, it looks like.
I might have.
Or maybe that's when they last run it.
The template.
The template must have run it once before. So it's been updated probably in that time.
Pat saw that.
So if this is an interest to you guys, right? Certainly check it out. But like,
But this is running on ShareMuch's virtual machine network, or
no,
where's the data coming from?
This is from the sample data.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a sample data that you feed through the system, so the system works and
So
adjusts.
conceivably, you could actually throw your data if you know how the data was set up and replace it, and then it ceases to be a sample of your experiment.
And if I listened much more closer in that AI class 10 years ago or so, I would have told you many more interesting things. But I decided to become SharePoint. Yeah, sorry. I'll be honest. I'll be honest, right?
Now, do we have to actually sit here watching this while this goes? Can you do other
No.
things? This is not running independent of it.
No.
This is just a dashboard, isn't it?
Exactly. This is a dashboard teaching the machine with the fake data.
And we can come back tomorrow and or in a minute from now and we can see the
You
same.
can come back. I'm not
Yeah.
Fine. You would leave us your account number and your password, right? I can spin up a whole bunch of things.
There you go. Anyway, so check it out, guys. Like I'm not gonna pretend.
You might as well stop.
Exactly, right? So I'm not gonna pretend like
if you go stop, you'll get
I don't think so.
No, it
I'm
probably
used to like really
hasn't probably been collected enough.
enough data. It'll be like sometimes you get weird numbers to those things you didn't
Cancel. Yeah.
There you go.
Status.
All right, so that's what I wanted to show you about machine learning. Because I honestly, again, as my goal was saying in the slide, that I will show you those things, and if they interest you, some things I can obviously help more about, but some things like machine learning.
What were some of the other interesting things you were thinking of showing us?
Yes. One other interesting thing while you guys are working on the ticket is I wanted to show you, because there's a lot of things, right? And one thing I wanted to show you is Visual Studio Online. Cool. So, being in the development shop, we found, obviously, I don't know what you guys are using for source control, but we use TFS. And TFS can be quite, a pain to set up. I remember, like, back in the day, projects, setting up TFS for the project, it was, you had to have SQL running, have machines configured. This is actually pretty simple here. We set up one of those for the customer, just to hand over the source code to them. Because they're not development shop, and so we developed this whole bunch of things, and we have a couple of developers, and we're like, okay, where do we put the source code? And they're like, well, we're on source control. And I'm like, why don't we do this? So it was actually pretty easy to set up, right? As always, you click the new button. To create one, basically, you would specify the URL, right? And it would get the visualstudio.com address. It would basically create a TFS instance for you. As simple as that. Any of you work with TFS just on premises, regular TFS source control? No? Okay, so it probably won't, I don't want to turn it into a TFS session. But essentially, I think I already have. Oh, there. I think I already have a TFS.
There was an option there to connect to an existing as well.
There you go. Yes. So TFS, it's a source control, right? What else can I say? We're story with source. However, there's one thing that you can do on the top of it is, sorry. Do I not? Okay, it seems like I don't have I don't have a project, right? I can create a project and log into it. But there's a couple of things, a couple of other things that you can do with TFS, not just store source code and navigate through the source control, but you can, you can create you can track bugs, you can track your use cases, So the most common scenario for us is, give the customers, their source code if they have a source control system, and then for for us to start using their source control to track bugs, because some of the bugs we may not finish fixing for them, and we hand it over, and then they basically have their development to take it over and continue working on them. So we might as well want to use their source control, and if they don't have it, then standing up some of those typically was a bit of an ordeal, right? You have to have someone who understands this, understands the infrastructure that somebody is using. So having this online simplifies things a lot. Everything's set up for you. You basically just create projects, and in Visual Studio you connect to them just purely by same TFS connection tools. You specify that URL here. In this case, whatever this is, visualstudio.com. And all the ports are default, and you get your project workspace, which you can start creating things. So this is one that out of all of the things that I looked at here, because there was a lot of things, and some of them might be more interesting to you than others, but I found that Visual Studio, out of all of these, is definitely something that's very practical and very real that everybody does. It's either that or you store your stuff in Dropbox. So might as well go for a proper source. Yes, you can do that.
It's free for 5 users to be shared on the account.
Can you do for the source?
And I think there's on the Visual Studio you see your one account you can invite like up to 5 users.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
or I guess 4 more users.
That's the limitation. Yes,
Then you start paying.
that are free, and then you do
And you have only so many build minutes or whatever they call it there for certain things.
if you're using a build. Yeah. So those are really the things that I wanted to show you today. Any questions? Anything? Except machine learning.
Maybe just if you scroll through the list, it's like I haven't looked at it lately. The list is getting longer and longer.
I know. It started like
is
this
new to me, and
so there's mobile services. One thing I really like. Wait, that's not the one thing that I really like is media services. So something that was there. Marketplace, by the way, has actually an interesting thing that I wanted to show you again. There's some apps and some data services that you can consume that you might be interested. I looked through them. They didn't kind of excite me a lot. So one thing that I really like is you can turn your machine on and off, virtual machine on and off from your Windows phone. There's an app for that. I'm sure there's an app for that on iPhone or whatever else, but definitely on Windows phone. So that's pretty cool. Where is the media service?
Isn't that part of the CDN, the Content Distribution Network?
No, it was like a separate thing. Media service there. It sounded kind of exciting, but I'm not Fox News or anything.
Is that part of where it also automatically detects your bandwidth and your device, or you can set up so the appropriate content is also auto generated for a variety of endpoints or device solutions?
It is pretty flexible in that particular way, right? Check this out. But the thing is that it's only if you're like there's a lot of third parties that do that already. Right? There's Kaltura, there's YouTube. But if you're looking, and even now SharePoint is advertising video portal, right? So there's even that. So building your own, it's kind of like, I look at it and it's, you know what it is? It's more and more, like there's a lot of these cool things in Azure especially, and it's a lot more and more related to, like, if you were to kind of thinking of, well, some of it is more practical and very enterprise-like. But a lot of things like media services, well, I'm thinking if you're going up with sort of a startup next to YouTube, we're not really next to you, but maybe some sort of enterprise video portal that does this and that, right? Rather, although VMs and Visual Studio Online are very much enterprise well-established products. What else? VMs, yeah, I mentioned that. Machine learning, right? It's in preview. The website is very well established, great offering, no question about it. But this one, for example, is an example of one of these.
Does media services include video conferencing?
There was one comment or somewhere feedback password was a comment about being able to live stream.
In here? Sorry.
Just above, somewhere there was one there, live streaming and video on demand. I'm not sure that's quite the same as conferencing.
Yeah, I think like communication with multiple people and multiple sites, multiple geographies. Yeah.
So certainly something to check out. Several years ago, I looked at Azure and I went, I know, and you're right. There was only like 10 options here. Where now I'm looking at, I'm using 4 of these 20 options, and so I look at it very kind of like, yeah, this is very real. This isn't some sort of nebulous service.
And you may wind up using the video on demand.
Exactly.
And your video could be up there. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't say he'd sue.
Good thing you didn't mention that provider.
Which provider?
The one that did less than feature needs. With
What,
packing.
the greenhouse? Oh.
Yeah, got those guys.
We can edit that out.
Yeah, so
Cool.
awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
So I have a couple of